Hi everyone, welcome to Flipping Heck Business, and this is the first video in the 3.1 spec for AQA A Level Business Studies. So my name's Dave and I'm going to be running through various stages, and this is the start of it, so welcome. Please make sure that you like and subscribe so that you can keep up to date with all of our videos. So lesson 1 is 3.1, what is a business? Today we're going to cover why businesses exist, what businesses do, types of business, aims and objectives, common business objectives, SMART targets, and mission statements. So first of all, just starting off with what actually is a business. Now obviously you know what businesses are, you've seen them, but if you wanted to give an actual definition, then you're looking at a business is an organization that exists to provide goods and services on a communal basis to customers. So in other words, they're providing something to a commercial basis, to a commercial customer. Now, when we talk about goods or we talk about services, then goods, we're looking at anything that's tangible. So things like smartphones, cars, clothing, anything that you can actually touch. Whereas with services, it's intangible. So it's anything that you're not actually able to maybe physically hold. So it could be cleaning, it could be accountancy, it could be HR, it could be that they're working from business to business, not just business to customer. So benefits of business is dead simple. So it creates employment. Everybody is hired by businesses. It creates wealth. So on this, it creates wealth by returning investment. So have a think about anyone who owns a business. Well, what do they get back? They get back their profits. Pays taxes on profits earned and collects taxes for governments. So in other words, a lot of money. So if we look at anything that's going on with Brussels now, for example, then there's a lot of arguments over who's actually paying tax, who isn't paying tax. Well, businesses are there to supplement the governments that they actually are a part of. Then drive innovation through R&D and new products. So that's R&D is research and development. And again, think about all the products that we have. Think about the iPhone. Well, all of this was done because businesses decided actually we wanted to provide an extra service. We wanted to provide an extra item and also make money. And of course, they just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. Now look at all the fantastic phones and everything that we've got access to now, just because iPhone decided that smartphones were the way to go forward. And then finally, businesses can enhance a country's reputation. So there are certain countries that actually have access to various businesses, but they can actually push certain manufacturing plants. They can push certain manufacturing industries. And it can therefore mean that the countries themselves actually get more substantial investment, more substantial recognition for what they are doing. So again, if you look at London, the finance districts of London actually provide a service, and a lot of countries in the world now are insisting on using London as their actual main key point of finance. So what do businesses do? So businesses basically, they transform the inputs and they end up with outputs. Now inputs are anything like people, so the workers, finance, so any kind of money, capital, so any business investment that they've got, natural resources, so raw materials, and they take them and they add value to it. So none of them are trying to make no profit. They're all trying to make some sort of money out of this. So what they'll do is they'll transform it into goods and services that you want as the public, that other companies want, and hopefully then you will go along, purchase them and add the value to it. Now you also get waste products through that as well, which can then be distributed at a later date through any kind of recycle scheme, or they can just be gotten rid of. So the main business sectors that we look at are primary, secondary, tertiary and quaternary. Now primary is just any kind of extraction of natural resources. So think coal, think wood, think use of water. So anything like mining, farming, energy extraction, anything like that is primary. Now that's just because it uses the actual raw ingredients. Then secondary is that they'll take those raw materials and they'll actually produce finished goods. So something for you to be able to use. Again, something more tangible that you can actually take away and use and touch. And then finally, well, not finally, sorry, then you get tertiary, which is providing services to consumers and businesses. So again, this could be stuff that isn't necessarily using any raw materials, but it is still required. So I mean, like beauticians, retailing, household like franchises, anything like that, where you are not using the raw material, but you are producing a good that someone is willing to buy. Then finally, you have quaternary, which is providing information and using ICT, so any kind of software development, financial services, libraries as well are considered to be quaternary. So relationship between mission and objectives. So every company will have a mission, and they're usually very sort of short, snappy, one-line words or like one-line sentences that are used just to like get their point across about the direction they want to go. So it's the intentions and purposes of the company. Then they get branched down into aims, which are our long-term plans. So think somewhere along the lines of in 5 years we want to, in 10 years we want to. Core values, which is the beliefs of the organization, and then objectives, which effectively are all the little things that need to be done in order to meet the mission and make it make sense. So mission statement. So like we said, this is a statement to stakeholders of the organization. So any kind of stakeholder is anyone who has anything to do with the actual organization. It could be workers, owners, customers, government. So it'll be just saying what they are doing for the future. So for example, McDonald's, to be our customers' favorite place and way to eat and drink. So basically what they're saying is they're keeping it within the remit of what their actual organization does, food, and their goal, like dead short, is, well, we want to be the favorite place for our customers. Well, that's great, but how are they going to get there? And that's where objectives come in. So you can see that there are two others. So empower every person, every organization on the planet to achieve more is Microsoft. And then to be Britain's best value retailer, exceeding customer needs in all ways. Already you can see that they're talking about value. So they want to be like reasonably priced, and also their customer needs. So they're very customer service orientated. Now there are some common criticisms of the mission statement. So they're not always supported. They could be saying one thing, but then their actions don't actually show that they are going to work towards it. And again, you saw that before, they were quite vague and general. Usually there's a lot of interpretation allowed for that. They could just be stating the obvious, and they could just be seen as a PR exercise. It's a lot easier to just put something nice and flashy than to have it like actually brought all the way across your like have someone do a lot of research into your like business and then try and define what it is you're meant to be doing. And also it could be regarded cynically by staff who may not be like really reflecting of what they think is actually going on in the company. So main functions of objective is once firm has established its mission, it can set its objectives. So again, it needs to have its mission. It needs to know sort of which direction it's going in, and then it can start actually working on it. So it should be the focus of all activities through its objectives, and they come in at like different levels throughout the business organization. And it'll be targets for individuals, or it could be for functional groups. And it's usually a very good measure of measuring performance. And that is actually quite important. It's actually allowing you to achieve goals. I mean, like, we can use profit all we want, but if you are not that profitable a company, or if you are like, say, just using survival as a strategy, then it could be that you're looking for something else. You're looking for something of just saying, right, well, here we are, and we are surviving. So SMART objectives. Now, these I expect you to go away and look up yourself and actually make sure that you understand it. So we've got SMART is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Now, when an objective is made, it needs to follow all of these processes. So the objective should state exactly what it is meant to be achieved. So we're looking at profit increase. Then measurable. So it should be capable of being measured. Well, how are you going to measure profit? Well, you can measure it exactly through how much money you've actually developed, how much money you've got left over. Is it achievable? Well, you need to give it an actual relative achievable amount. Saying 50% like profit increase is actually not very likely. I mean, like if you're a big company already, to try and get 50% increase would be very, very difficult. But something along the lines of 3 to 5% could actually equate to several $100,000 or millions of pounds, but yet still it is very, very much an achievable target. Needs to be relevant, so you're not going to talk about like increasing your sales of bananas when you're Armani, are you? You're going to talk about actually increasing your sales of menswear, female wear, clothing. And then finally, it should be time bound, and that's very important. It's got to have a time set onto it. So it could be this quarter, it could be 6 months, it could be over a particular marketing campaign. And then the hierarchy of the business. So we can see here that you've got mission at the top. So again, it's short and snappy. Then corporate objective. So this is very strategic, and it'll be broad about everybody within the organization. Then it goes down into our functional areas, so such as HR, operations, sales, anything like that. Then go into those teams in particular, and then finally the individual. And you can see that the arrow on the right shows that it is increasingly detailed. So from the top we get quite vague, and then it moves all the way down till eventually at the individual level you're getting the basic, like, okay, well, this is what you need to do. You need to sell X amount of clothing extra this week, which then leads up into team. Well, your team has sold a huge amount of like extra items, and then you've met your functional objectives as well, which hopefully then will match into your corporate and your mission. So common business objectives, and these are the 6 that we look at throughout A-Level. So profits and profit maximization. So are you increasing your sales to make more profits, or are you decreasing your costs in order to make more profit? Social and ethical objectives. So this could be anything along the lines of making sure that your supply chain is nice and ethical. So making sure that everybody is paid a fair wage, making sure that you're recycling. Growth. So if you're a business and you're looking for expansion, maybe into another country, maybe into another area, maybe even just open another shop. Survival. So this is if you are, say, part of a new start company, then it could just be for the next 2 years you're just trying to make enough money so that you are not actually going to close. And then once you've paid off some of your debt, then you can start making profit, and that can turn into maybe a growth or a cash flow objective. Then you've got cash flow, so that's money in to money out, and just making sure again that you've got enough money to cover all of your expenses, and then start moving into the profit as well, or then start moving into growth. Then we've got diversification. So this could be that you're expanding your line instead of selling just one product. And here's a bit of a challenge for you. If you can find a company that only produces one item or one product, right, then I'd be really impressed, because I've only been able to find one, which was a water company. They only did one product, and that was in India. So think about like all the different products that you get out there. It could be that you're just trying to increase your range. It could be cereal, it could be hair products, but something along those lines of like actually increasing a range, which of course leads to getting more employment. Getting more people to buy your product, which eventually hopefully will lead to sales increase and profit increase as well. So you can see here we've got mission, which is the qualitative statement of the business aims. Aim is the long term, and then the objective is the target which must be hit in order to actually reach the stated aim. And then here we've just got some examples, so I'd make a note of these. They are just examples of how like increasing sales, again a bit vague, or how can you do it? Successfully launch 5 new products into the next 2 years. And it's always a case of just having something short and then actually expanding it into something again smart. So like successfully launch 5 new products, specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's relatable, and then in the next 2 years it is time bound. So loads of factors that you can see that would actually affect it. So we've got age of business, size, local status, views of owners and managers, legislation, how they're seen around the world, any political, social attitudes as well. And they will actually define, okay, so what is your actual like objective going to lead to? And again, we've got strategic, so this is all the long-term goals. Have a look at that, make your notes from it as well. And then your tactical, so focused again on short-term, like relatively low risk, might actually just cost a little bit of money and can be easily changed. Okay, folks, that's my 15 minutes. Thank you very much for watching. For more information, just make sure you hit like and subscribe to us. And of course, also set up your notifications. To my students, you should definitely be making your notes. I expect them in on our next lesson. So please make sure, using your workbooks, that you've filled out all your knowledge stuff so that we can get straight in to the nitty-gritty of the application, analysis and evaluation work. Please feel free to leave any constructive criticism below in the comments. Anything stupid, I'll just delete, obviously. Don't be a moron, right? And then I am going to be following up with video 2 very shortly. And eventually, by the end of this, we will actually have a full year's worth. And hopefully then, next year, you'll be able to go back and look on your revision, and we'll have a second year as well. Thank you very much, folks.